Hello and welcome to the Savage Goose Show. I'm Goose, and I'm silencing my throat. I've been gone for 2 weeks, and I am so sorry for that. Just been sick, not the whole time, but like each Tuesday. We'll go into what happened, but I'm glad to be back, and I'm so sorry that I've been gone for so long. If you're just joining us for the first time, though, and you're like, "Hey, Goose, I don't know who you are," and you're just kind of talking about random stuff. I'm Savage Goose. And on this channel, we talk about all things Savage Worlds. And on this show, we talk about all things from the past week, in this case, multiple weeks that have happened inside the Savage Worlds community and talk about it. And then we also have a big topic that we talk about towards after the news stuff. And today we're going to talk about why less is more with adventures. We're going to talk about one pagers and adventure generators and big log campaigns and just kind of finding like what is right for you and how you can kind of adjust things and make things up along the way. So we're going to talk about that. But first, the newsletter. So we're going over the newsletter from Pinnacle. And actually, I'm going to go and get this into a better situation here. That's better. So this is the latest newsletter. I am going to go over a few items from the previous two newsletters. Actually, mostly this is the previous newsletter, but we're going to start with this week's newsletter. So the first thing is that Pathfinder for Savage Worlds, the Bestiary 2 is now on Steam and Fantasy Grounds. So if you're using Fantasy Grounds for your VTT, you can now get the Bestiary 2 available there. Some of us are still waiting for the Bestiary 2 to get into our physical hands, but it's fine. No. So we're looking forward to that. And so if you're using this VTT, you can check that out. The spring sale for Savage Worlds pawns and maps ends next week. So there's been a big sale for a lot of the spring to get some of the pawn sets for different RPGs cheaper. These are physical pawn sets. They are at like a different, whatever. I'm not sure the percentage is, but there's a sale on all these. If you are a in-person player who likes, if you like to run a lot of in-person games like I do, you can take a look at this and try and get some maps and pawn bundles and everything. If you want, like some of them are bigger than others. Like the Deadlands one is going to be huge, and you can get a whole bunch of stuff here. And if you actually go here, you can see that these includes a lot of different ones. So the map pack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Box set 1, we got some figure sets 2, a whole bunch of them here. So a lot you can get here. Take a look at that sale. If you're interested in any of these, definitely go check it out. Moving on, the licensee spotlight is the Superpowers Companion audiobook and backer kit. The audio RPG group, they do a lot of just like audiobook versions of Savage Worlds books. They've done I think they did the Horror Companion, they did Deadlands, they've done the core rule book. And so if you're someone who's on the go and wants to listen to the rules and kind of refamiliarize yourself that way, these are great ideas, and usually they are pretty good deals. Like you can get like the physical book plus audiobook for basically just the cost of the physical book. So you basically get the audiobook for free on top of it. So if you're interested in that, check that out. It's a really good deal usually, so check it out. Licensee roundup. There's 2 licensees that we're going to highlight here. One is Starbreaker Star Marines. I met with Brandon several weeks ago at this point and talked about the new Star Marines expansion book for Starbreaker. And so check that out if you want to learn more about it. There's also a Savage Universe stream where Brandon talked about it as well. So check those 2 streams out. And also go check out the Kickstarter. If you haven't gotten Starbreaker, this is one of the ways you can get Starbreaker already. Starbreaker is a really fun, interesting sci-fi setting, so just go check that out. I'm not going to get too much into it, but go check it out. It's a cool setting. I'm looking forward to getting the Space Marines expansion to play some Space Marines. The other one, and someone mentioned in the comments recently saying, hey, it feels like you're mentioning Scarred Lands like every week. I'm like, well, yeah, partially because Scarred Lands keeps releasing different things, and also I am excited about it, but again, Aegis Studio has released another creature profile, the Proud. It's a monster for the Scarred Lands setting. As we kind of get closer and closer to the time of that product actually being released. So looking forward to that Kickstarter for the Scarred Lands for Savage Worlds book to come out. I believe that the goal is to have that Kickstarter sometime this year. And so I'm super excited about it. I'm getting, excited to see it come to life. Someone who has the Scarred Lands for 5e book and I don't think I've used it for anything, but I have run some adventures from that setting, specifically the Gauntlet of Spiragos, which is actually an adventure that's already been translated into Savage Worlds. I purchased it. I've read through it. I'd like to go play at some point, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. But we'll see. But yeah, go ahead and check that out. I'm looking forward to this and check out the check out the setting, check out these creature profiles, and yeah, check it out. As far as crowdfunding, the science fiction companion that should be all finished. Harris World, pilots are leaving the U.S. If you haven't paid for shipping yet for your Savage Pathfinder booster camp page, go do that. Go Pledge Manager. Go pay for it. I did mine, I think, last week. Make sure you got that paid for so you can get your books in hand without delay. And then we have some other books here. We got the Savage Worlds for Rifts reprint. The file's been delivered. And Deadlands, Bound Northwest is pre-order. So look forward to that as well. As far as other products that have I wanted to mention, any of the news, the one news from last week that I really want to mention was that the Crystal Heart is coming to Dark Horse in 2025. So first I need to talk about what Crystal Heart is and kind of who these people are. So the Ace licensee is called Up to 4 Players. It was a webcomic that I read a lot of before even knowing about Savage Worlds, or I mean not before knowing Savage Worlds, but at least not knowing they knew Savage Worlds. It was just an enjoyable webcomic. So I enjoyed reading through it, read through it. And eventually they did this webcomic where they're all, and a lot of these, backing up, a lot of these webcomics, they are playing board games, right? It's a lot of board games that they're playing. And, some like life events are happening throughout it. But in the one part of the webcomic, the characters are playing a Savage Worlds game in a setting that they made called Crystal Heart, where you have like these interchangeable gem hearts that give you different powers. And this is a setting that they did release for Savage Worlds. So if you go to I think the best way to get it now is just to go to RPG and order it that way. But they do have like a quick start. They have the Crystal Heart books you can order. You get it in like physical print. You can get it just PDF, whatever. And this is a setting. I can't look through the setting itself, so I can't as far as the actual book to know how give you any recommendations on it. But I enjoyed the comic. The comic was really fun. And they're taking this Crystal Heart comic, this webcomic, and it's going to be published through Dark Horse Comics, which is, if you don't know, is a fairly large comic distributor, producer, writer. So I think this is pretty good news. I think this is big news. It's coming from a big name comic maker. It is going to be a game that's going to be in some stores, comic stores, bookstores, etc. Because it's going to be coming through Dark Horse. And I'm hoping that this gives Savage Worlds even more of a exposure to other people, because this is going to be a comic about players playing Savage Worlds and using Savage Worlds to run their game. And it's a really interesting take, because it's like not just a comic about the setting of Crystal Heart, but it's a comic about players playing Crystal Heart. And so like die rolls are going to be seen in the comic. Like, oh, hey, give me a die roll. Cool. You exploded. Do. It's going to be showcasing some of the mechanics inside the comic. So I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to see this come to life. The goal looks like it's going to be coming in November 2025. I again really enjoyed the comic even before the Savage World stuff, and as its own. So go check out the comic, but also check out Crystal Heart. I can't speak to it if it's good enough. There is a I know I see people say they enjoyed it, and there is a jump start if you want to jump on that first. So take a look at that. So that was the main news from the previous week that I really wanted to mention. And so let's go ahead and jump back over to our agenda. Next thing I want to mention is some new products. There were a few new products that came out these past few weeks that I wanted to mention. There was 2 adventures by Terry R.W. Wiesent that looked interesting. This one is about an asteroid mining ship that is responding to a distress signal. So good, kind of adventure to throw into your sci-fi game. And then the other one is the Curse Place, which is about werewolves and such. So something that you can throw into your fantasy game. So I just want to mention those are the 2 came out. They looked interesting. This is published through the Savage Worlds Adventures Guild, so check that out. And then this month's Atomic Ninja Studio One Shot Wonder is End the Line, which is Cyberpunk one shot. As you guys are aware, I am a big fan of Atomic Ninja Studios games. I don't have all of them, or I would say maybe not even half of them, because they have a lot of one shot wonder adventures with pre-written adventure, pre-written characters, or pre-generated characters that you can grab. So just grabbing any of these one shots from Atomic Ninja Studio, you can just print them out, play the game, and you're gonna have a good time. I'm still trying to find a time to run a particular one for my wife called Flight of the Living Dead, or Flight of the, something like that. Flight of the Living Dead, I think is what it's called, like Night of the Living Dead. So either way, check those out. And then going back to our slides, I'll talk about some Kickstarters. We have 2 Kickstarters we want to mention. The first one is Starbreaker, which you mentioned earlier. It ends April 25th. So it's a Friday. If you're interested in this, you can check that out at the link down below. And the other one I want to mention, and I wish I would have been around these past 2 weeks to tell you guys about this one. I wish I'd been able to tell you guys about this one for 3-4 weeks. I wish I would know about it a little bit earlier. And that is the Simply Savage Bestiary from BPB Games. I could go on and on about why I'm excited about this, and I could tell you all the reasons why. It currently ends May 8th. It has like 15 days left, something like that, left on the Kickstarter. Please go check this out. I'm not going to dedicate a video right now to talk about why you should check this out and why I'm so excited about this. I might do this next week. This might be next week's live stream, telling you guys why I'm so excited by this particular product and like the previews I've seen for the monsters inside this bestiary. I actually wrote a video and recorded a video about this product. Unfortunately, the footage was just absolute garbage, and because I forgot to set a particular setting on my camera, so I did not release that video or even spend any time editing it. But I might still make a video about it, like either when it comes out or maybe before then, maybe if I can find some time to record. Either way, please go check this out, and hopefully you'll see why I'm excited about this. And like I said, I might just spend next week talking about this particular product and the design elements of these bestiaries and go over that. So that being said, we'll skip on from there. And then let's see here. And I think that is everything. So I usually do a licensee spotlight. I'm not going to do one this month just because I've been out for 2 weeks and don't want to like cheap someone out on 2 weeks. So I'm just going to not do one this week. And we'll start again next month with another spotlight. We'll go from there. All right. So today's topic is talking about why less is more. If you're just joining us, this is Savage Goose Show. Thanks for joining. We're going to talk about why in adventures, less can be more. I want to say can be, because it really depends on who you are as a game master. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on my own history and how I run games typically. As typically, I've run games different ways. I've run different kinds of games. I've run one-shots. I've run one-sheets. I've run ventures designed off adventure generators. I've run big campaigns that have been based off books. The first campaign I've ever ran was in 5e. I've played other games, but I wasn't running them. The first one I ever would say, I should say that I've run other campaigns, but I didn't really know what I was doing a whole lot back then. I was just trying to one to play, and I was the only person that was willing to do anything. But I would say like I really started running games was 5e. I got the Lost Mines Found Delver from the Star set. Ran through that adventure. I enjoyed it. We ran straight in from that one into the Princess of the Apocalypse campaign for 5e. It ran through the whole thing. Yeah, we ran the whole game. Enjoyed it enough. I didn't think it was. I was running for too many players. I had seven players. I think 8 players by the end. So too many players. But overall, I enjoyed this. This was fun. So that was it was fun to do. And then after that, I got into Savage Worlds. I got the deluxe edition, the deluxe Explorers edition of the book, and I got the Last Parsec book, and I did the Last Parsec Eris Beta V as my adventure. This is very different than running this. Now this is a very dungeon delvey kind of campaign, and a lot of even every D&D campaign is going to be very different. Some of them are more sandboxy, and you need to run you need to know the whole book to know what you're going to do. What could happen. Some of them are railroady, like the Horde the Dragon Queen and those ones. And then those ones very dungeon crawly, has a couple options. You can do different routes, and there's different things that change, and the end boss changes depending on who you fought the first few rounds and choices you made. But overall, this is pretty progressive. Start here, you're generally going to go this general direction, and there's not really a lot of options. You have options, but there's not a lot of I wouldn't say there's a whole lot of choice, or there's not a lot of choice as far as the GM is concerned. There's the things that okay, players do this, you go do here, not a lot of room for improv, right? This is posted this. This is a plot point campaign for the last parsec, and every plot point is fairly short. There's not like a whole lot that goes on. Like, so let me figure. Here's an example. So this plot point here, I think it's like a few pages, and it's broken into 2 parts or 3 parts, maybe 3 parts, 4 parts. Sorry, trying to find. Or is this the whole? Sorry, is this the whole campaign? Yeah, sorry. So like the first part here is what? 2 pages, 3 pages? 2 or 3 pages. It's for the one plot point. And it's very kind of like, gives you the basics of what you need to know for this particular plot point. And the way the plot points work is like, they generally speaking, you go plot point 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to go down. And the way that I tend to see it, and a lot of people tend to like see it, is that these are like a serialized TV show where like you have plot point 1, and then that's going to be it's kind of its own things, kind of encompassed, but obviously it's going to naturally lead into the next one, and that's going to be the next TV show, next episode, with a new focus, with maybe an overarching mystery, but there's like the next focus along the story. And these plot point campaigns, opposed to these big campaigns, is that they allow you a little more freedom and flexibility as a GM to know the basics of what you need to know for that particular plot point, and then freedom to make stuff up along the way in the middle to get your players to X place, or to be okay with players making different decisions than maybe what is expected. It's just saying, hey, here's the basics of what's happened in this one. Here's what your players are likely to maybe to do this progress, but you can do it a different way. You're hearing a momentary digital buzzing. Oh, that's not good. Let me know. Let me know if it keeps going. Yeah, I might be having an issue with one of my. I have a little switch that goes between my two computers, and I think it's been acting up, so I might have to get rid of it. Sorry. So hopefully that fixed it. If it does, if it keeps, let me know if it keeps happening or not. Hopefully it's done now, and hopefully it didn't ruin everything. So that's the plot point campaigns, right? They are much more flexible. They still get you a big, long campaign, lasting many weeks, but they give you a little more flexibility than maybe like a fully fleshed out campaign like this campaign from Prince of the Apocalypse. I like these. These are nice. I also ran Degrees of Horror from ETU. Similar idea, plot point campaign, even more serialized, because you almost have like a monster of the week every week until you start getting towards the end, where things are more, connected, and there's like connections between things, and you start getting the idea of like how everything fit together the whole time, which is a lot of fun because it's very TV show-esque, right? Monster of the week, and then you go into these other things. So, anyways, so plot point campaigns are great because they give you that flexibility, but they also give you structure, and this is, in my opinion, my ideal. Right, I tend to run pre-written campaigns, pre-written adventures, and plot point campaigns for me is the ideal way to do it. I tell people who are making settings, if you don't give me a plot point campaign, I may never run your setting, even if I love it a lot. If you don't give me a plot point campaign, I might never run it, because I want this. I want plot point campaigns. So do that. Now, there's also like, you have campaigns, but then you also have adventures, right? So I have my thing of City Guard Chronicles. I have all these adventures in here. This is several adventures, is not one, but there's several adventures in here. And adventures tend to be, the way I see adventures is they tend to be more written out than maybe a plot point campaign is, right? Or one plot point in a plot point campaign. They tend to have a little more detail, a little more stuff. They are trying to tell a bigger story, and so they have more stuff going on to tell that wholeness of the story on the way. But they can be very, very, very fleshed out, or they could be a little more loose and say, here's the general information that you can gather. I love the way that City Guard Chronicles, because, as everyone realizes, I love City Guard Chronicles. It's great. I love the way they're designed. I love the way the scene structure is. I love the little, like, you go from here to here to here, and it's very clear on where it's supposed to happen next. And so I would say that these adventures tend to actually be more written out than maybe a plot point in a plot point campaign, but they have more that they're trying to accomplish. There's more story that they're getting through, and because of the way they're written for, in this case, for a investigative purposes, they are giving you more details that your characters can learn along the way, so that they can figure out the mystery, right? So that's that. And then you have one sheets. And this is not the last one. There's one more category we're going to talk about, but they have one sheets. And one sheets are exactly that. They are usually one sheet, usually front and back, and they are telling a whole entire adventure in one piece of paper. You print this piece of paper, you have front and back, and often that includes a stat block for a certain, maybe the big bag of evil guy or whoever the main person is in this adventure. But the one sheet is very lacking in detail. It gives you again more of a structure, more of a plot point-esque setting where you have your first event, your whole entire adventure, the whole structure, the whole story for you as a GM, knowing what the start is, what the hook is, and then what the resolution is, and then you basically just have to determine along the way, how do you want to get there? How do you want to figure this out? And sometimes the one sheets will tell you, how you can figure it out on the ways, maybe if you're certain details, but not tell you how your players should figure this out, how they should resolve it, and trying to give more details to your players to figure this out. Now, one sheets for me, I've had success with them, and I think in some of the situations I've had more success than other plot point campaigns, more other adventures. And in some cases, I've had less success and not as much success because there just wasn't enough details, because it was a finished story front to back in that one sheet. There just wasn't really enough to happen in that story for my players to really feel engaged. And they felt like, after writing one sheet, sometimes they feel a little lacking in what happened. So you can go both ways with that one. Depends on what you can fill in and how much you can really fill in and add to the story to kind of elongate it and make it feel more interesting and engaging. Now, the last thing and the last way that you can really run adventures, so we've talked about full-blown campaigns, we've got plot point campaigns, we have single shot adventures, we've got one sheets, then we have adventure generators. And I didn't get a book out in time, I think, to get one out. Let me just grab one real quick. Almost every Savage Worlds book has had an adventure generator, and this is the third-party book, and this has adventure generator. Almost every other one has an adventure generator. So if I pull this out here, let's see here. That's my character sheet. That's my wife's character sheet. Where is it? Page 133. All right. And we have here some of the ideas for the adventure. We have the objective page, so to figure out what the objective is. We have the antagonist. We've got the twist, and we have a locale. And this is dependent on, basically, draws the card to figure out what you want. Some of them have die rolls you can do instead. But this is, you just kind of creating an adventure. You're creating an idea of an adventure, and you're really just filling out all the details. This is not giving you a specific thing. So let's go ahead and do one of these. Let me go ahead and put this aside. Grab this bookmark. Got my Hudson bicycle cards. I'm going to grab these, pull these out. And let me just get this pulled out here. All right, go and shuffle this up. And we're just going to create an adventure right here. Now, I'll tell you what, one of the adventures I've created in the past for ETU, I created one just randomly created one. And it was one of the adventures that I got the most compliments on. And it was very simple. You're thinking oh, this is going to generate a whole entire adventure. Not really. It really just gives you a few details for you to kind of create an adventure on your own. And that particular adventure, there was my cards were who's the enemy? It was a vampire and it was two monsters. Because of I pull a joker and says pull two more times on the adventure generator. And I pulled a vampire and a chupacabra thing that's in the book. And then I don't remember what the other two were, like the two details were, but basically what I decided, like, okay, there was a particular girl that the players were interacting with who was a fellow student, and I had her get kidnapped, and basically the players didn't know she got kidnapped. She went on a date with a vampire because vampires are charming and alluring, and they can convince you to do that. So she went on a date with him and never came home. And the players just kind of noticed, like, hey, we haven't heard from. I think her name was Missy, in a long time, and the players they're like, oh, that's weird. So they went and investigated, talked to her sorority sisters, and they're like, oh yeah, she went on a date last night and she hasn't been back since. Like, really exciting. But also the players knew that that wasn't really Missy's style. Like, that wasn't really who Missy was, and so they did some investigating. Along the way, they ran into the chupacabra in the back streets, and so they had, like, basically I created from this adventure generator. I said, okay, there's gonna be like two paths here. There's gonna be the path investigating where Missy went. Also, like, where did this chupacabra thing come from, and why is it just wandering? And so they had to, like, figure out what to do here. And eventually, they both actually went to the same place. So chupacabra, we decided, that just got abandoned, left for dead by the organization that made it, and was taken into basically adopted by a vampire who was able to take control of it. Using its telekinesis or whatever. It's not telekinesis, it's telepathic abilities. We're able to take over it and able to control it. This was just from pulling like 4 cards. This is me just like looking at these cards, pulling out a few details, and then making something up along the way. And I decided, like, some of these items that came up during the adventure, I decided, I started thinking along the way, like, oh, this vampire lives in an apartment building. I kind of made it up along the way. I didn't necessarily know what I was going to do with that until that moment happened. I decided that the one room the vampire stays in has actually, like, been remodeled to look like a, like, old timey, uh, dungeon-esque thing, and that's what the bedroom looks like. But the rest of the house looks normal, all that kind of stuff. And the players did some crazy stuff. They, I think that eventually they had like a lighter that could, like, shoot a fireball essentially, and they caught the building on fire, and eventually they did the water suppression system, and all these are crazy things that happened that probably wouldn't have happened if it was using some sort of pre-generated adventure or something. So let's go ahead, and so let's go ahead, we're gonna do the one. But I just want to say, like, that was like one of the best ones I've run, and it's made me think that I need to start running things that I make up more often. That being said, I still think that plot point campaigns is where it is for me. But I think you should also try using things like these adventure generators to figure out what you want to do next in your game. So let's go and do this real quick. By the way, this is, if you didn't see this is Vermilion. This is a fantasy-esque game. There's some, like, post-apocalyptic type stuff in it. There's like an old civilization that has been lost and create clockwork type creatures and stuff, but it's very fantasy-esque. So you have a cards. The first thing we need to figure out is the objective. What is the objective for the players? Remember that in this game, in the setting, the players are typically anti-heroes, not heroics, but not necessarily evil. So yeah, here we go. The first card we get is a 3 of clubs. So if you get a club, it is a intriguing rumor. So the characters over here whispers or come across legends of supernatural ongoings, lost treasure, or bad blood. Accomplishing this objective might result in earning a reputation or gaining local favor. Most rumors are unreliable, so feel free to draw an extra twist card for this adventure. So we may have to have an extra twist. So that'll be later in the decision. Now I got a 3, and this is a bounty. So a wanted outlaw needs to be brought into justice or dead or alive, or a contract needs to put on someone's head. Okay, so rumor. So they hear a rumor about someone being that someone is wanted by the law, and so, oh, hey, maybe it's a pretty interesting bounty. Okay, so who's the antagonist? Probably the person that is the bounty is the antagonist, but maybe not. It could be, maybe it's just a person who is called in the bounty. So next card we get for the antagonist is a King of Spades. Spades says the antagonist is dreams or nightmare. The antagonist is driven by vengeance or madness from nights of endless torment, or they are working toward a goal they believe it to be virtuous or justified. Okay, and for King, we get supernatural monster, something menacing moves in the shadows, be it a skinwalker, blood hunter, Hamadryad, or an army of restless dead. Okay, so this, based on what is happening so far, what I'm seeing and what my first thought is that there's someone who is there's a bounty on someone's head, because it is something stupid. They're being driven mad by something. Then the antagonist isn't actually the person who is the bounty. And what the players might find out is that this person's actually just kind of gone, has like these nightmares that are being caused by this true protagonist, which is some sort of supernatural monster that is causing him, that is like preying on this person. So we'll do that. That's my thought so far. But we'll continue to go and see what the twist is. So we'll draw another card. All right. The twist, I got Queen, is change in scenery. The party becomes lost, or their quarry is not where it should be. Draw a second cow card to move the adventure to, referencing either suit or value. Okay, so the change in scenery. So basically saying like the scene where we start the game or where we start the locale may change during the adventure. Okay, so we'll start with the first locale is going to be in the wilderness. I gotta make sure I read this right. Yeah, it's gonna move in the wilderness, and then it's gonna move to the jungle. Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking right now is that this monster is some sort of like jungle-esque monster. Like this monster is something that resides in the jungle, and you can make it up and say, hey, this monster that you're making up, oh yeah, it lives in the jungle. You find this out, and what my thought is that because it's supposed to be something of nightmares, is that the players investigating and trying to find this guy eventually get pulled into the nightmares themselves, and in that nightmare, their scenery changes. They go from being in the wilderness and they kind of like wake up, and now they're in the jungle. And in reality, what's happening is that they're in the nightmare, right? They're in the nightmare and they need to defeat this monster so that they can be free and kind of get out of this nightmare, but also so that this person can be free of the nightmare themselves. This person that they've arrested, maybe they have taken this person over, and like on the way back, they need to sleep for the night, and they all get brought into this nightmare. So something like that. And so that is like kind of like the premise I would create, right? And I don't know what the character's name is yet. I don't know who this person is, the bounty is. I can make out a list. I can find. I can, either use a random name generator or something and just pull out a name out of my hat. I probably would have to find the monster I want to use. So I have to look through the bestiary, either this one or some other bestiary, and find the right monster I want to use. But now I've got a very simple premise just by drawing some cards and making something up in my own mind of what kind of story I'd want to tell and what kind of story that I think these cards, the decisions lead to. And I'm not filling all the details in. I don't know where this person's going to be. I don't know where I'm going to, like, how the players are going to figure this out. I don't know who's going to tell tell the rumor to them. And I'll have to figure out some of those details out. But some of those details I can figure out along the way as we're going through the adventure, or as I'm like preparing for the adventure. One of my favorite books, I don't have it right now because I think I loaned it out to somebody, is the Lazy Dungeon Master's Guide, or Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. And it's a book by Mike Shea, Sly Flourish, to help you learn how to prep less and spend more time playing, and basically give you the outlines of what you need to know to run an adventure. And so I would take these ideas and run those ideas through that prep process and figure out, what are the interesting locales they're going to go to, what are the interesting people they're going to meet to kind of get this adventure going, what kind of monsters they're going to fight, and what kind of treasures are going to be. Those are some of the examples of the things that are in that step for the Lazy Dungeon Master. So when it comes to running adventures, I think you can have less. You can do less prep. You can have less of knowledge of what's going to happen in the adventure and still have run a fun game. The most fun games I think I'd run would be plot point campaigns, or in order, I'd say probably the adventure generator games, one sheets, plot point campaigns, and then like the full written out books. Right now we're going through the adventure path book for the Rise of the Rune Lords. And while I wouldn't quite put it at the same level as like the Prince of the Apocalypse, it is a lot less plot pointy, in my opinion, a lot less serialized, a lot more like continuous progression through this big story, this big campaign, without a lot of room to kind of wiggle around, because there is a constant threat that needs to be addressed and needs to be figured out. So that's my talk. That's what I wanted to talk about. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing and how you guys decide and like how you guys run your games. I did see Hamster Doom say that, you know, how do you start to run? You have a long list of settings. I do too. I have a long bookshelf of settings I want to run. But the thing that's going to get me to run them more, like I said, is going to be a plot point campaign. I'm super excited to finally get I keep seeing updates from Tabletop Games talking about the Street Wolves plot point campaign, the Dead Hand, I think it's called. And I'm super excited to get my hands on that so I can run this. Because I don't know if I could run this by myself, because I don't feel like I feel like I feel like I need a deeper knowledge of the setting to really get into this. But maybe I should instead run a one shot where I run this, get a better feeling for it, or maybe I should use the adventure generator that is inside it. So there we go. Hamster Doom says, have I looked at Legends of Ghost Mountain? This thing about this setting doesn't appeal to me. I don't know quite what it is. Like I watch a lot of anime, and like, not a lot of anime. I watch some anime and stuff. So it's not like the setting itself is like, I don't know. This thing about it doesn't make me super excited. But okay, but that one wins a spectacular plot point campaign. That's good to know. So if you what for those who don't know, Legend of Ghost Mountain is a I need to make sure I say this right. I always say Wuxia, but it's not Wuxia. It's Wuxia or something like that. And it's it's Wuxia, where you play as these guardians who are protecting a mountain. I don't know the full ramification story. Go look it up. It's a Pinnacle product. It's an official Pinnacle setting. It's not one that particularly appealed to me. So, and that's okay. We can all have our differences. But if you're interested in it, go check it out. Look at it. You can look it up on Pinnacle's website. You can order it there. You can order it on DriveThruRPG. I think I've seen it in bookstores before. So, or not bookstores, but like game stores. So, but it's good to know that it does have a good plot point campaign. And almost every Savage Worlds setting has some sort of plot point campaign. So yeah, go take a look at that. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm taking a look at anything else. So I'm not sure when this happened, but Troy Gustavell did ask, what actually is Secret Chronicles? I've heard lots of people praising it as one of the best lines of Savage Worlds third-party releases. I'll say definitely one of the best swag releases. Never heard actually explain what it is. So what is it? It's a lot of one-shot adventures where you play as members of the city guard. I equate it to so he mentioned, like, is it like CSI Waterdeep or Law and Order Magical Crimes Division? Sort of, not quite. I equate it to the guards in the Discworld series, and what's the name of that town in the City Guard series? I can't remember. It's in the I can't think of what it's called. I'm gonna Ankh-Morpork. That's what it's called. It's not that. Anyways, that's what I would call it. It's more like a little more fun, a little more just like research. And I've been trying to convince Jan to turn this into a full setting, because I think it would work really well. He's gotten so many different setting rules and different things that he's done already for each of the adventures. I think there's 5 full adventures, and there's like 10 one sheets or something like that. And I've run 3 or 4 of the adventures. I think 3. I think I've done 3 of the 5. And I just really enjoy them. They're really well laid out. The pre-generated characters are great. There is a page that the adventure gives you of all the important NPCs in the campaign, in the adventure, so you can like quickly reference it as a GM. And then on the flip side, or like maybe on the other side of the page, there is a scene change. Like, this scene goes to this scene, goes to this scene, and like all the different possibilities. So like, it's like a scene workflow doc, and it's great. I love it. So yeah, Hamster Doom, yeah, confirming that I do. It is Wuxia. Michael says, with plot point campaigns, I always try to add in character stuff. If the PCs have an enemy or wander hindrance, it also is an auto venture. Yeah, I definitely in both of the plot point campaigns, both the ETU one and in the Last Parsec one, there was times where there was not a clear indication that they need to go to the next plot point. Sometimes there was in the Last Parsec one, they actually skipped a plot point because they're like, no, we just need to go do this. That was fine. I enjoyed it. It was great. But there was also times for us to do side adventures and more adventures on characters levels, and that was like exploring the characters more. And so the serialization of it made it so that the plot pointness of it meant that there could be easy breaks in between each plot point for character exploration or character arcs and such. The other one Jim says the other one I've heard is the best point campaign. Otherwise, is 50 Fathoms, but that is for Explorers Edition. Yes, I have heard the same thing. People praise in and out 50 Fathoms and its plot point campaign. I feel like I need to run it, even though it's for an older edition of Savage Worlds. And I don't know if you say Explorers. Yeah, I think it's Explorers Edition, not Deluxe Edition, and not Deluxe Explorers Edition. It's like the Explorers Edition. So it's a fairly old edition of Savage Worlds that's meant for, compared to like the more recent ones like Deluxe. And I believe there is a conversion doc for Suede, so you should be able to just pick that up and like convert it easily. But there's part of me that has been holding off on getting any non-Suede products because there's so many Suede products I want. It's like, well, I have all these Suede products I want. Why would I wait? Yeah. Anyways, so yeah. Yes, yeah. Sorry, I should clarify that City Guard Chronicles is not actually located in Ankh-Morpork, for copyright reasons. It can be located in pretty much anywhere you want it to be in your fantasy setting. I'm just saying that, like, I imagine it in Ankh-Morpork or in a comical fashion rather than a overly serious fashion. So, yeah. Kender Mage, sometimes PPC, plot point campaign, also means please PC, go this way. Yeah, and I think the plot point campaigns can be very direct. They can say, hey, you're going to do this now, because that's often the way that I think a lot of people see Savage Worlds is being a very much TV show-esque kind of setting, or not setting. We talk about being very pulpy, being very episodic, and making it so that it's very like serialized in the way that you kind of approach session to session and adventure to adventure, where there can be downtime between adventures and stuff. I don't get that for the adventure pass for Savage Pathfinder, but I do get it out of all the other like plot point campaigns that I've run from other adventures from other Savage Worlds products. And that's really what I want to see from a plot point campaign, and from an adventure design standpoint, is something that where I can have these easy breaks in between, that make sense, that fit the narrative, and are easy to run. Whereas I don't feel like I get that with these other things. Once I start a book, it's usually like I need to keep going through the book constantly. There's only ever a break, maybe in between books. So yeah. All right. Well, that is all I have this week. Again, I think next week we're going to talk about some stat block designs. I mentioned I did a video maybe about a month ago about stat blocks and how I'm not the biggest fan of stat blocks in Savage Worlds. And I want to talk about the Simply Savage Bestiary and their stat blocks because I think they look amazing. Please go check out that Kickstarter. There should be a link down below. If it's not, I'll put one. There should be. And we'll talk about those stat blocks and why I like them so much. With that, I appreciate you all for hanging out and talking about plot point campaigns and adventure designs and stuff, and talking about how we run games together. And looking forward to hearing more thoughts in the comments down below as people watch this video on the video on demand. So take care, everyone, and have a good week and stay healthy, please. Norovirus is going around everywhere around here. Please don't get it. It's awful. Cheers, everyone, and may your dice always ace.